Okay, so to prepare the butternut squash, the best way I find is to cut it into small discs. So cut the top off and then cut it into discs, because the skin is actually quite tough, so it's much easier to handle in smaller pieces. And then you can just get a knife and easily cut the outer skin of the butternut squash off, and then just chop your butternut squash. So with the discs with seeds in, again you're going to peel, cut in half, scrape the seeds out, do it with a spoon, or with it if you feel happy doing it with a spoon. So the seeds are all out, and then cut it up into chunks. Got some garlic here, and then I will drizzle some oil over the top. And then just mix that up and then pop that in the oven. So the butternut squash goes in the middle of the oven that's preheated to 200 degrees C for 20 to 30 minutes until it's nice and soft and slightly charred on the outside. Okay, so to cook the risotto, you need 2 tablespoons of oil in your pan. And you just want to heat that up slightly with your rice. So there's 400 grams of rice here. So you need 100 grams per person. So that goes in there. And that's just going to cook in the oil for a few minutes, just to absorb the oil and get the rice warm, so it's ready to start absorbing our stock. So this isn't ordinary rice, as you can see. The grains are slightly more rounded than the normal rice that you eat with, say, a curry. And you'll find it in your supermarkets, and it's usually just called risotto rice. So you let the rice absorb the oil for a couple of minutes. And when it's nice and warm, you start to add your stock. So you need half a pint of stock to 100 grams of rice. So here we've got 400 grams of rice and 2 pints of stock. This is our chicken stock that we made earlier. If you were a vegetarian, you can obviously use vegetable stock, and then with your butternut squash and spinach, you've got a vegetarian dish. We're going to add some of our leftover chicken from the roast chicken. Or even if you were vegan, you would do butternut squash, spinach, and maybe some pine nuts. And then vegetarians could add some cheese in there as well for some added protein. So this is warmed through nicely now. I'm going to add a little bit of a stock. And the key with risotto is to add your liquid very slowly. So if you were doing a single portion of this and you had half a pint of stock, you'd be looking to add it in about 4 or 5 small amounts. So you wait for this to be absorbed before you add the next lot. And this will take about 20 minutes to cook slowly, adding your stock in the 4 or 5 batches. So that's all absorbed now. Add some more stock. And wait for that to absorb. When that's absorbed, add some more, and you continue like that for 15 to 16 minutes until the rice is nearly cooked. So this is our leftover chicken from the roast chicken. So we're going to remove all the cooked chicken from the bone. Any bits of skin or bones or sinews, we're going to put in our stock pot to make stock with. So we want to pull this off into sort of mouth-sized pieces. And you can tear it up into your pieces. So this is the risotto rice nearly cooked. It's absorbed most of the stock, so I'm going to add the final amount of stock in now and let that absorb. Now, I won't let this absorb quite as much, because by the time I've added all the other ingredients into the risotto, it will have continued cooking and absorbed a little bit more. So I'm going to add a little bit of pepper in here, so that has a few minutes to cook out and not be too hot and spicy. I'm not adding any salt because the chicken stock adds the depth of flavour, and I find you don't need the salt. And certainly if you were to use a stock cube, which you could use if you wanted to, but obviously you have to pay for a stock cube, so that increases your costs. Whereas if you've utilised your chicken properly, you've got effectively free chicken stock, which is much healthier and better for you. But you could use either a vegetable or a chicken stock cube. So this is where I'm going to now start to add the rest of the ingredients to heat through. So it's a little bit more runny than when you've been adding the stock. So I'm going to check on my butternut squash that's in the oven. And some of the pieces are slightly charred, and it is all soft and cooked through. So I'm going to add those in to the rice. And then I will add my spinach, which I've had thawing out. I'm using the frozen spinach again, and that's in there. So that's 4 nuggets per person. Just mix those in. And just get the spinach heating through, because it's still a little bit frozen. And then you can add the chicken, and that wants to be heated thoroughly through so everything is piping hot. Stir that in, keeping it on the same heat. I'll just leave that to heat through for a few minutes. Then I'll give it another stir and add the parmesan just before serving. So now the chicken's all heated through and the spinach is all melted, and you've still got your pieces of butternut squash. You're going to add most of your parmesan cheese, retaining a little bit to sprinkle on top. So stir that through. There we are. And that's all piping hot. So I'm going to serve that in my bowl. That's a good hearty portion there. using your leftover chicken, and then there's a portion of butternut squash, spinach, and then sprinkle a little bit of parmesan on top, and that's ready to serve. And I'm going to serve that with a side salad as well. So there's probably 2 portions of veg there and 2 portions in your risotto, so that's 4 portions of your 5 a day.